My name is Johnny, and this is my story. Where it all begins, I'm from a little small town called Altimer, Arkansas. Population about 900, some maybe 1,000. Small, tight-knit community. Growing up, man, I saw a lot of stuff. From drug use to, from the older people in the neighborhood coming together to make sure everybody had what they needed. Childhood was pretty much, okay to a certain point. Growing up, I dealt with a lot of things where people, what was considered to be bullying now. I dealt with that a lot myself. I dealt with a lot of mental things where people was telling me, man, you'll never amount to anything. You'll be a drug head before you turn this. And that was coming from close relationship. So I dealt with a lot of that stuff, seeing my dad being on drugs. I watched my mom work 2-3 jobs sometimes, breaking her neck to make sure that we had everything we need. So it was a trying childhood. But all in all, I can say, I grew up with my mom loving me to death. My dad, my brothers, everybody was there, but they were a lot older than what I was. So I had a close relationship. I have a close relationship with my sister, and it was just, it felt like the two of us sometimes. But like I said, I had my brothers, but it was a big age difference from myself and them. So growing up, it was a little crazy. I can say that, from the mental abuse of being told, like I said, you'll never amount to anything. From that leading up to my teen years, becoming very promiscuous, watching porn like it wasn't nothing. And then up into my adulthood, that led to a lot of stuff. I even got to the point where, I started selling it, just trying to make it seem like it was okay, make for other people to watch it too. So I felt like my childhood led to a lot of mistakes that I had as a youth, from my 18 up to my 20s. It got so bad, y'all, I was sleeping with married women. So my promiscuity, it got pretty rough. I would say that had a lot to do with me not wanting to go to church anymore. I was baptized at the age of 12. Yes, I was. I grew up in church. I grew up around church people. But at the same time, I got to the point to where I didn't want to have anything to do with church. One of my close friends, he kept, every Sunday he was like, "Hey, come on, man, let's go to church." My first response was like, "Nah, I gotta clean my car." I got to the point, man, where I said, "Okay, God, enough is enough. If I continue what I'm doing, everything that people said about me is gonna begin to come true." I even tried to get drunk one time just to see what it felt like, and I couldn't. So at that point, I knew, okay, the Lord is really, either he's watching over me or he tested me. So after that little one incident, I tried my best to get drunk after drinking bottle after bottle after bottle, and it didn't happen. I'm like, okay, what is going on here? Either I need to keep drinking or I better stop. And the best of the two won. So I was like, you know what? I better quit this because this is going to end up bad. So after that, I began to, have a conversation with God, and I told him, the things that continually going on around here. I was harassed by the police department. Well, I wouldn't say the entire police department, but it was one police officer. Every single time that he saw me, y'all, I dealt with it. I either got pulled over, I got a ticket for something unheard of, and it kept going on and on and on. And I never thought to actually file a report about it. So I just got tired, and that's when I met my wife. If she was my girlfriend then. I've been in Texas since 2006. And it was rough when we first got here. I was living with a friend and she was living with her brother. The things didn't work out between me and my friend, and I was basically homeless for a couple of weeks. almost at the point of having to live out of my car because I wasn't going back to Arkansas because of the promise that I made to him that if he would move me from there to here, that I will do the things that he asked me to do. And I also asked him to just make a way for me to be successful by moving to Texas. So it was crazy that I got down here and I was sleeping in some of the most raunchiest hotels ever behind that. Just trying to make it to payday because I had just started working. So I was trying to make it to get my first check. And I made it to payday. Y'all, I actually spent one of my birthdays in a hotel here in Irving that I wouldn't even want someone's pet to sleep in. That's how bad it was. Bed bugs. The hotel itself, there was so many drug addicts that was outside. I couldn't even get a good night rest because I was so afraid that something was crawling on me. That's how bad it was. So when I got my first, and that went on for about 2 weeks. Then nobody ever knew but my wife. Nobody knew. And when I got my first check, the first thing that I did was went and got an apartment. Had absolutely nothing in it. Nothing. So I went and bought an air mattress. We slept on the air mattress for a couple of weeks. And after that, we began to purchase furniture for our apartment. And things were going really good. After that, we also went through a point of time where we was in the apartment where she lost her job and we both were in school. I was going to school during the day, working a full-time job in the evening and a full-time job at night, just so that we can be prosperous and not have to struggle. But when she lost her job, it was kind of hard. I can remember one time, again, the Lord had made a way for us to get through. We had overpaid all of our bills, had gas in the car, but we forgot one thing, and that was groceries. So I had $5 to my name. And y'all, when I mean God was good enough to scratch $5, I went to Kroger's one evening, and hoping that I can at least buy a pack of hot dogs or something. I went into Kroger's and they had a sale going on out of this world. When I mean I took $5 and walked out of that store and still had change. 2 packs of hot dogs, chips, chili, sodas, all of that out of $5. And I was like, man, God is so good. And when I got home, she looked at me like, where did you get the money for all this? And I showed her the change that I had in my hand from $5. And she couldn't believe it. So I knew then that God had a special calling on our life. And, getting on up into the years, we eventually moved to Fort Worth and things began to look good. We ended up buying a house, y'all, our first home. And being in that home within 2 weeks, it crumbled. When I mean crumbled, the foundation fell. We went through ups and downs trying to get out of the home and just get things together in the home. But we ended up staying there for I think about 5 years. We endured through it for 5 years. In that 5 years, we learned a lot from each other. We began to serve God a lot more. We got closer in church. We started going to church more. We also got pregnant with our first son. And like, if you've seen her testimony, she shared, you saw where she was pregnant. She ended up losing baby Jalen. We call him Nugget. So that was traumatic, just to say the least. As a husband, and people that know me love that I love fixing things. I love building things. I love doing things with my hand. But the one thing that I couldn't do was fix this. So that in itself was the beginning of a lot of problems for me, because the one thing that I couldn't fix with my hands was restoring my wife back before losing our child. That was kind of hard. As a man, that's the last thing that you want to see is your wife or significant other going through something that traumatic and you can't do anything about it. So we eventually healed from that and moved on, and 2 years later we got pregnant again. Now by that time we had done The Lord had blessed us to build a home. So we moved in between that time. I started a business, my first truck driving business. I had my first truck. Things were looking good. Everything was prospering. We got pregnant again. This time we went to the doctor. We looked at the ultrasound, and the first thing out of her mouth was, the baby is latched on in an irregular place. So the first thing that they recommended was for her to have a surgical cerclage put in. And they explained the harm that could happen or the issues that could come with it. And we were like, okay. Well, that's when the fallout happened, the day of the surgery, because I wasn't expecting things to go the way they were. With me being gone, I was in Kansas City when she ended up having to get rushed to the hospital for that baby. And I was like, man, I how can I get home fast enough? And I finally got to the hospital, and I walked in and saw her face. But on the way to the hospital, the Lord kept telling me, be prepared for what's about to happen. Even when she went back down to get a second ultrasound, it's like I couldn't move. I was froze. And I sat there and sat there and sat there like, okay, Lord, why you didn't want me to go with her? And it was because he wanted her to experience something herself too, but also wanted me to experience something. That you're getting ready to go through something that you're not going to really understand, but at the same time, it's going to break y'all, but it's also going to heal y'all. And I couldn't really understand what was going on. I just knew I was looking at my wife that was broken. She was broken to the point to where that I didn't even know she was wanting to take her life. And how I found out after that, which was probably about a year or so, was she gave it to me in a letter. And in this letter, it stated that she would want to take her life. And that was kind of devastating to me. And I didn't respond to it well. I had to take a break. I had to realize, it wasn't about me. It was something that she was dealing with personally, but at the same time, she didn't want to come to me and just tell me outright. So she wrote it in a letter. And I actually got kind of mad because I felt like it was selfish. So during the time and all that was going on, we lost our child, and years later, my dad got sick. After our relationship had got a lot better, he had began to call me more, y'all, and I was, it was good. I felt like I was in a good place. And it was like just when we were getting started, we got gut punched. He ended up finding out he was sick with stage 4 cancer. And within a few months, it moved from his lungs to his throat to his head, and it was just everywhere. And losing my dad, it was kind of hard. Even to this day, my wife and I, we still look for his phone calls on a Sunday, because he called us every Sunday and say, hey, I'm just calling y'all, man, and just saying, hey, I love y'all, just checking on you, see how everything going. And he would get off the phone. And when we lost the kids, he called and he was like, hey son, I don't even know what to tell you. I don't know what to say. I don't know the words to even give you encouragement, but just know that I'm here. And just hearing that, that actually helped me. It made me feel better, because I knew that my daddy was understanding what I was going through. Even if he didn't know the words to say, he understood. So my encouragement to everyone else, and my overcoming story to this, is for the husbands. Find out what your wives are going through. Understand them. Understand the role of the husband in the household. We need people to talk to us. We need to talk to people. We as men, we let this machoism rise up in us and feel like we are indestructible. We're breakable too. And for some time I felt broken. I just didn't know how to say it. For a long time, I too was walking around like I was lost and didn't even realize it. I was pretending that everything was okay, but deep down inside, I was tore up. And my overcoming story for everyone else is this. When I found God and I began to really search after Him, I found peace. I found understanding. I found love and I found grace. And when I began to find all of that stuff, I began to be a better husband. I began to be a better father in the household to our niece, Larisha. I began to be a better friend to a lot of the friends that my godly friends that are around me. But in finding that, I found a lot of patience because I was a very impatient person. And I found a lot of peace in being able to share my side of the story with people, how I overcame with losing the kids, how I overcame being bullied, how I overcame being mentally abused. So my encouragement to everyone else is like the rest of the stories that you guys will hear. Talk to people. Once you begin to do those things, the revelation that God has over your life and for your family will begin to even be more broader than you realize. So my name is Johnny, and this is my story.